All right. Welcome to the first early public scoping meeting. Does that help?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. For the Santa Paula Creek Flood Risk Management Project. The purpose of this meeting is to share a summary of the project and the study that is about to begin, and to receive your input regarding the scope of the study. Thank you to all participants who made time to join us either in person at Santa Paula City Hall or virtually over Zoom. For those here in person, we have printed copies of a project information sheet in both English or Spanish available on the table to my left. These are also available for folks on Zoom on the project website, which we will provide the address for at the end of the presentation. The website was also provided on invitations to this meeting. For those attending here at City Hall, there are written comment forms also available on the table to my left. We invite you to fill out the form. You can submit it as a written comment that we can read aloud, or you can choose to be heard to speak your comment for the record. Those we will accept at the end of the presentation. For those attending virtually, please enter your comment in the question box, and we will read those aloud in order. A second public scoping meeting is scheduled for 7 p.m. today and will cover the same material. So there's no need to attend both, but you can if you would like to. The evening meeting will be held virtually over Zoom only. We will post links to the meeting recording in both English and Spanish on the project website as soon as possible after the meeting if you would like to go over any of the material again or share with your friends. A final note to those attending in person, if you need the restroom or water, you go out this door and then make a left and you will find the restrooms and water fountain. Before the presentation begins, we will welcome first Bob Woodward, City Engineer for the City of Santa Paula, and then Dr. Earthia Nance, our new Director of the Ventura County Public Works Agency Watershed Protection District, to say a few words, after which Brian McDowell, Environmental Coordinator with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, will present the project information. We kindly request that everyone who speaks reintroduce themselves for the record. Thank you. Bob?
Thank you, Angela. Bob Woodward, City Engineer, City of Santa Paula. Just a few words. Obviously, Santa Paula Creek is a central feature in our community. It's a source of both flood risk as well as some ongoing improvements. We have a bridge that's going to be starting in a couple weeks, and we have some future bikeway expansion that's going to be going up part of the creek. So from a city perspective, we have an interest in the improvements from both an aesthetic perspective as well as a floodplain management perspective. We recently completed a letter of map revision that provided quite a bit of relief to members of the community. I think we took about 1,000 parcels out of the floodplain. We'll be looking for continued opportunities to make that better. And we'll be looking forward to working cooperatively with both the Watershed Protection District as well as the Corps of Engineers. So we really appreciate them taking a lead on this project, and we're looking forward to next steps on this. Thank you.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Earthia Nance. I'm the new Director of Watershed Protection District here in Ventura County. I'm very proud to be representing the county, very proud to be here at this community meeting. We're partnering with the Army Corps, and that's a very important partnership. They bring knowledge, resources, expertise to match ours, and we're looking forward to working together. We can't do anything without the community, though. So the more people we can get to give us their ideas, to critique what we're presenting, to have a dialogue with us, to be a partner with us, that's what we seek. This is a pretty good turnout. We hope to get more people tonight. Tell your friends and neighbors. We want this is only the beginning. This is going to go on for several years, and we want to make sure we have consistent input from the community. And so I'm very happy to be here, and let me turn it back over to Pam. Are you next? No? I'm turning it over to Brian. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming today. My name is Brian McDowell. I'm the environmental coordinator on the project with the Army Corps of Engineers, Los Angeles District. We're here to talk about Santa Paula Creek 216 feasibility study. It's a flood risk management study. The 216 refers to Section 216 of the Flood Control Act, which is the main authority of the project. More on that later. This study looks at possible modifications to an existing core project, which means there's already a constructed project in place, but we're studying how the project can be improved to remove any residual flood risk that may exist, solve existing problems associated with it, and see what opportunities there might be for improvements. Next slide, please. I'm not sure this clicker is going to work. Back one. The purpose of this public scoping meeting is to inform the public of the project, ask for any feedback, input, and concerns that might help properly scope and inform the study so that the best possible project might be delivered. I will go over who all is involved in the study and their roles, give a brief history on the project, go over the core study process and timeline, and then open for comments. We may not be able to answer all your questions at this time, because we're early in the study and we may not have the answers yet. But knowing what your comments are will be useful in scoping the study. We will take everything into consideration while scoping the project. And we want to leave as much time as possible for public participation, so I will try to keep things high level and brief when possible. The purpose of today's meeting is to introduce the Army Corps and Ventura County Public Works Agency Watershed Protections Flood Risk Management Study, ask for public input, explain the Corps' planning process, and ensuring the public is informed and engaged. The Army Corps of Engineers is the lead federal agency on the study, which means the Corps is a 50-50 cost share partner with the local sponsor to help fund the study and provide expertise. Being considered a participating agency, which you see below, means an agency is considered a team member on the project and allows agencies a seat at the table early in the feasibility study process to help inform the study and meet all of its objectives. Not listed here, we're also working closely with NOAA Fisheries or National Marine Fisheries Service, sometimes called NIMFS, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and we've also reached out to local tribes for input. So why are we here? Santa Paula Creek has a history of flooding parts of Santa Paula, as you may be very well aware. Historic floods have flooded areas all the way down to Santa Paula Airport. The project was initially constructed to convey 28,000 cubic feet per second, but updated modeling has shown that the 1% chance exceedance event, meaning 1% chance of happening each year, commonly referred to as the 100-year flood, is now roughly 39,400 cubic feet per second. To help visualize what that means, a basketball is about 1 cubic foot. So imagine 39,000 basketballs flowing down a stream each second. Since the 100-year flood is now considered larger than the project was constructed to handle, residual flood risk is higher than intended. There's another issue that compounds this problem. Each time there's a major storm event, sediment or sand is deposited in the lower reach, reducing capacity and increasing risk of overtopping of levees and flood damages. As sediment is deposited in the stream, it fills the channel, leaving less room for water, thus pushing water levels higher and increasing flood risks. The Corps is also finalizing an operations and maintenance manual to hand over to Ventura County to properly operate and maintain the project. So the Army Corps needs an authority to complete any study or project. The authority for this study is the Flood Control Act of 1970. Section 216 of the Flood Control Act allows the Army Corps to reevaluate existing Corps projects when found advisable due to significantly changed physical or economic conditions, and to report to Congress with recommendations of modifying the structures or their operations, and for improving the quality of the environment in the overall public interest. As the last slide showed, there have been changes in the physical conditions surrounding the project area, namely increased flood risk, which has been shown by updated hydrologic models. So the end product of this study will be a report on the Corps' recommended plan and associated environmental documents, which we anticipate to be an environmental impact statement. This slide just gives a brief timeline of the project history and past flood events. Santa Paula Creek has a long history dating back many decades, so I'll just hit a few main points. In 1974, the Corps completed phase 1 of a 3-phase construction of the initial project. The project was severely damaged in a flood event, which resulted in additional flood risk. So in the 90s, the Corps completed a general reevaluation report with a recommended plan to address the problem in 1995. In 1997, Southern California steelhead trout was listed as an endangered species in the project area. Steelhead remain a central concern with the project, and there have been multiple iterations of a fish ladder to allow their passage upstream of the project. In 2002, the construction recommended from the reevaluation was complete. Since then, there have been multiple storm events with high flows that have damaged different project features like the fish ladder in 2005. The project features, namely the fish ladder, were repaired in 2009 and 2010. There have been other storm events in recent years that now require operations and maintenance of project features like the fish ladder. In 2023, another storm event caused damage to the project, this time to one of the levees. There is currently work in progress to repair those levees. And this next slide shows the damage to those levees. Repair work will hopefully be completed next year in 2026. The damage happened due to a storm in 2023 due to an accumulation of sediment, causing water to overtop the bank and erode land behind the bank and the access road. Large amounts of sediment are moved through this system each flood event, which can accumulate and reduce capacity, which increases flood risk. This shows a picture of the fish ladder pre and post storm damage. On the left, you'll see the fish ladder as it was initially newly constructed in 2002. On the right is the fish ladder after being damaged by the 2005 storm. This helps illustrate how damaging these storms can be, and how quickly the damage can happen, as not only large amounts of water rush through the stream, but the water carries large boulders that can damage structures. This shows more aerials of the fish ladder. On the left is an aerial photo shortly after construction completion in 2002, and on the right is a ground level photo taken in 2023. Again, these photos help illustrate how much sediment these storms move through the project area. So this is a high-level overview of the Corps feasibility study process and tentative timelines. The yellow star you see towards the left represents where we are right now. So I want to emphasize that we're very early in the study process and are thus welcoming any input that might help inform the study. We're still in the scoping phase, which is largely information gathering. Thinking about the problem, how it can be solved, what other opportunities for improvement might there be, engaging the public, early coordination with other local, state, and federal agencies. All the information we are able to gather with help from the local sponsor, Ventura County, the city of Santa Paula, and all the agencies and the public will be used to help alternative formulation, which means developing different possible solutions to the problem of flood risk. So again, we want to hear from you all and see how local knowledge might help us be most successful in delivering this project. There may be potential solutions we have not considered, or problems or risks associated with the solutions we're presenting. There may be potential environmental, social, or recreational benefits or damages that we should be aware of. This will not be the only opportunity for comments, questions, and engagement. Another opportunity for public comment will be in early 2026 when the draft report and draft environmental impact statement will be made available for public review. If you would like to be notified of future meetings and when the documents are published, please include your contact information in your comment card. The final report and final environmental impact statement will consider these comments and may respond to them directly. Just a reminder that this schedule is tentative and is subject to change.
Okay, I'm there now.
So here is a list of alternatives or potential solutions that must be evaluated at a minimum by the Army Corps. The Corps must always consider these types of alternatives, and we always start by identifying what a future without action is expected to bring. As we look to first identify potential measures to address the residual flood risk that remains once the operations and maintenance of the project is fully implemented. We will then formulate actionable alternatives that will work to manage the expected flood risk for the Santa Paula community. Finally, we will identify the alternative that provides the greatest net economic, environmental, and social benefit. Sometimes a single alternative can meet multiple of these criteria. So one alternative could be the natural and nature-based alternative, the environmentally preferred alternative, and the locally preferred plan. So while the Corps of Engineers used to look at benefit to cost ratios or the economic benefits above other benefits, our methods have shifted recently. We are working under a new decision framework, which considers in a comprehensive manner the total benefits of project alternatives, including equal consideration of economic, environmental, and social categories. Some examples of benefits that we will consider can be found in these white boxes. So this is just a handful of endangered species in the project area that are of central concern. The Southern California steelhead trout I mentioned earlier. There's also Lee Spell's vireo and southwestern willow flycatcher. So for the Southern California steelhead, there's also designated critical habitat in the project area, and it was recently listed as a California endangered species. Since it is essential we properly capture environmental benefits, we need to have a way to quantify those benefits. The way we do that is by using a habitat model. A habitat model allows you to measure environmental outputs, usually quantified as habitat units, which in turn allow for comparison between different alternatives or plans. This allows the Corps to determine the most cost-effective option or combination of options that create the most environmental benefits. So on the top right, you'll see another picture of the Southern California steelhead trout. And on the bottom, you will see a Lee Spell's vireo, which is another endangered species we will be closely considering. So something we always consider in the plan formulation are problems and opportunities, and they're listed here above. The city of Santa Paula is subject to flood risk from Santa Paula Creek. High flow events can cause flooding of infrastructure, life safety concerns, and deposition of sediment in lower reaches that reduces capacity. Operations and maintenance is critical to the functioning of the existing Santa Paula Creek project. Construction was completed in 2002, and operations and maintenance below the ordinary high water mark is not anticipated to begin until 2027. The Corps is preparing an operations and maintenance manual that outlines operations and maintenance activities for Ventura County to implement. Opportunities for this project are mostly centered around chances to improve the function of the project and environmental quality. We hope to address challenges surrounding operations and maintenance, which is difficult and expensive due to the amount of sediment that accumulates. There are also significant opportunities to improve environmental quality in the project area by restoring native vegetation, removing invasive vegetation, increasing groundwater recharge, and considering more effective and resilient designs to facilitate fish passage. There are also opportunities to incorporate traditional knowledge and provide access for indigenous gathering of traditional resources. And there's also opportunities to enhance how the public interacts with the project area, like recreation features and interpretive signage that help describe the project features like the fish ladder and the importance of fish passage for endangered species. The objectives of the project are obviously to reduce flood risks to the public health and safety, as well as to any damages to property and infrastructure, and to reduce flood risks from deposition of sediment that reduces the amount of water the stream can hold without flooding. Constraints are things we must try to avoid and will limit or influence our alternatives or solution formulation. Constraints for the Santa Paula Creek project are creating bank erosion above the existing project or adding any structures in the stream that may impact fisheries or fish passage. Considerations are similar to constraints and may have negative impacts, but we can minimize or mitigate those impacts. Considerations for the project include things like water quality and temperature being consistent with local land use planning, mitigating any induced flooding that results from the project, and necessary sediment and vegetation management. So this is just a couple of satellite images of the project area to give a sense of the scale and location of the project. Many of the alternatives will mention Telegraph Road, which you will see within the red box of the image on the right, located just north of Highway 126. They will also mention the Santa Clara River, which can be seen at the bottom of the left image, and is the downstream or southernmost end of the project. This is our current list of conceptual alternatives, and we would like to hear your thoughts on these conceptual alternatives. Just a reminder, we're very early in the formulation process, and these solutions are still subject to change. Alternatives may be added, removed, combined. Another thing you see mentioned a lot in these alternatives is adding access ramps to allow for more efficient, and that is to allow for more efficient and targeted maintenance of the project. So number one is the no action alternative, which the Corps must always consider due to guidance. The problem with that is any residual flood risk would remain. Alternative two, acquire and elevate at-risk structures and increase access points for maintenance near the fish ladder and on the east bank. Alternative three, add a box culvert near the Telegraph Bridge, which is at risk of overtopping, and add additional access ramps to enable changes to operations and maintenance to allow for targeted removal of sediment that deposits in the channel versus a comprehensive removal throughout the entire channel. Alternative four, downstream of Telegraph Road, acquire properties and expand the park to reconnect the floodplain, raise the bottom of the channel bed to ensure connectivity of the channel to the floodplain, and add additional access ramps to the east bank to enable targeted removal of sediment and create operations and maintenance efficiencies. Alternative five, modify the slope of the channel north of the fish ladder to the confluence north of the fish ladder, and add additional access ramps for targeted operations and maintenance where needed. Alternative six, add a box culvert at the Telegraph Bridge, remove the bridge apron and widen the bank at the Highway 126 bridge. Make the west bank steeper to increase flow velocity, all of which would work together to reduce the likelihood of channel overtopping at Telegraph Bridge. Alternative seven, at Highway 126, widen the channel and raise or replace the bridge to reduce the likelihood of overtopping Highway 126. There will also be changes made to existing operations and maintenance to allow for targeted removal of sediment by adding access ramps on the east bank. Final alternative number 8 is add a flood wall downstream of Highway 126 on the east or left descending bank and add additional access ramps where needed on the east bank. So the next steps in the study process, We want to welcome you to provide input on the study problems, the opportunities, objectives, constraints, the current array of alternatives or solutions. If you feel like you have any information that would be useful in the planning process, please let us know. The figure on the right of the slide is just meant to illustrate that the planning process is an iterative one, meaning just because we move on to the next step in the process doesn't mean that we will not revisit earlier steps as appropriate, which we often do, for example, when new information is brought to light. Another next step, when the draft report and draft environmental impact statement go out for public review, which is currently scheduled for June of next calendar year, 2026, please feel free to comment on that document. We will also be initiating consultation with the resource agencies, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, National Marine Fisheries Service. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from you and working with you to develop the flood risk management plan for Santa Paula Creek. In addition to any comments you may have today, comments can be submitted either via mail or electronically to the addresses provided here. You can also find them on your comment cards if you're here in person. Any comment given will be taken into consideration in the scoping of the project and will be used to help inform the study. Any comments submitted via mail or email must be submitted by August 10th of this year. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. And I think next we will be opening the floor to public comments.
Anyone have any comments that they would like to hand in for me to read, or would anyone like to come up and speak their comment directly at this point? We open it up to you now, and if you don't, it's fine. You can always submit a comment by mail or by email later. Any questions? Okay.
I think it was.
For the record, please state your name.
Oh, Carla Mena. In one of the slides, there was an asterisk. I think it was next to number 5 as alternatives. Is that what's the leading one currently, or can you elaborate why there was an asterisk?
All right, let's see if I can find that. No, that does not mean that it is the leading alternative. That I think was just a leftover footnote that was not included in the slide.
Thank you.
Yes.
I have a question.
Can you please state your name?
Lon Warner. Live at 4060 Ohio Road. And the last storm that we had, we lost about 3/4 of an acre. And I was wondering if the project is going to proceed further than it did last time. The banks were shored up. The project last time stopped right at my property line, which is just outside of the city of Santa Paula. And now I have a 24-foot straight drop into the creek. And so I'm just trying to find out, from what was presented, it doesn't sound like in the immediate future, but when the project is complete, is it going to the Green Bridge or stopping at the city limit?
The project would essentially stop at the city limit. But if you would like to submit a comment requesting that the project study an area further upstream, we invite you to submit that comment during the public comment period.
I have the form
All filled out?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Joy Cummings. I just have a question because I have never understood the purpose of the fish ladder. And I'm very into the environment. I want the fish to be able to go up the stream, but it does not seem that the creek is steep enough there that the fish wouldn't be able to go up the stream. without the fish ladder there. I'm sure they've been doing it for millions of years, and I've never understood why the fish ladder was there to begin with, and it creates a lot of problems. Number one is there's always gonna be boulders coming down that creek, and it's always going to be damaged. And number two, it just creates these barriers where silt and sand and rocks build up. It seems like the creek would be better if it was left more natural at the bottom. And also, I've never understood on both sides of the fish ladder why it's all been concreted in. Because they just concreted between the rocks, and so the water left behind leaves pools that just breed mosquitoes and stuff. It looks to me like it'd be better if the creek was just left more natural in that area.
We definitely will take your comment and we will consider the possibilities, of any change to the fish ladder or removal of the fish ladder. We will definitely take that into consideration during the study. Yes. And the fish ladder is there. It was designed to allow fish to move stepwise upstream and to have a place to rest in between each step. So that was the intention behind the design.
Yeah, I just have another comment because of the concrete on both sides. It's my understanding that the fish need to be out of the sun. So that prevents any of the natural vegetation from growing up after a storm. So there's really no place for them to rest where it's shady.
Okay. Thank you for your comment.
You're welcome.
I was just gonna say, one of the alternatives Brian described was removal or abandonment of the fish ladder.
Oh,
That was one of the listed, but I think you had one of those.
Okay.
alternatives.
okay, thank you.
Let me just also add, there's a trade-off there in terms of allowing the natural banks to erode and to continue to erode versus putting the concrete in to prevent the erosion, but then there's other impacts that happen because of the concrete. So there's that balance.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the riprap on the sides of the bank. I'm talking about the concrete that's on the level part on both sides of the fish ladder.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the riprap. I understand how that is necessary because the banks erode. But there's all this concrete on both sides of the fish ladder, and then further downstream, and there's the concrete stops. So I just wondered why all that concrete was there, because it just seems like it creates other problems if the water doesn't run as freely. And for a while, they kept trying to direct all the water through the fish ladder, but of course, all the banks and levees they put in just washed away in a storm, and so it always covers all the concrete anyway. And I don't know, it just seems unnecessary.
Okay, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Sorry, I have another question. for
Yes.
Lorena. The project itself, I understand it's in city limits. Is there a reason why US Forest Service was not consulted? Cause it would benefit the forest in the long run. So I just had a question if that would be included in the draft EIS.
We can certainly reach out to the US Forest Service and include them in the coordination for this. Yes, thank you for your comment.
Abel Montiel, we have property on Main Street and down below Main Street on Garcia Street. And, we're in a flood zone, but as you develop your plan, will you have updated flood risk maps along with it? And possibly moving us a little further from the flood risk with this project? Is that? I assume that's
I
part of
would
it.
defer to the core.
Thank you for the question. I'm Daria Mazie. I haven't had a chance to introduce myself yet. I'm the Plan Formulation Branch Chief at the LA District of the Corps. Great question. Yes, we will be looking at the existing and future without project flood risk if we don't modify the project. And then we will also, all of the alternatives that are in the final array that we don't screen out due to, hey, we realize this isn't gonna work. We will also do with project modeling for those to determine kind of the best bang for the buck and also environmental and social benefit for investing in any modifications. You know, what do you get for that investment, and kind of looking at the trade-offs there, like you were speaking to, yeah. Mhm.
Thank you.
We do have two online questions.
Okay.
The first question is from Roni, RONI. They say, I would like to suggest choosing to move towards more wetlands inspection of the creek and removal of the concrete ladder.
Okay. Thank you, Ronnie, for your comment.
And the second question is from Randall. What could you say, Randall M? I will not try to attempt your last name. They say improving groundwater recharge was mentioned as a possible project component. Under which alternative or alternatives would this be evaluated?
I think, the most likely alternative would be, any alternative that mentions reconnection to floodplain. Which I think was,
You wanna pull up the conceptual alternatives slide? Yeah, I would agree with Brian. The one where we talked about reconnecting floodplain. Yeah, if you are wetting the floodplain more frequently, you should receive some incidental groundwater recharge benefit. We can also kind of, what? Oh, yeah.
There we go.
alternative 4 mentions acquire properties and expand the park to reconnect to the floodplain. And raise the bottom of the channel bed to ensure connectivity of the channel to the floodplain. So anything that would be reconnecting to the floodplain would increase groundwater recharge.
Are there any other comments on Zoom?
Those are the only two we received.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Well,
I wanted to add a
Yes.
comment, even though I'm part of the whole piece. The gentleman who owned land there, there's an aspect of his question. So he was looking at it, I think he was saying, are the flood maps gonna be updated? As we know, it was just presented that the risk has increased. So when those flood maps get updated as a result of that modeling that was done to show the risk, that's gonna impact him. And so he wanted to know, am I coming out of the floodplain now? Since we've acknowledged the project, at what point do the property owners come out of the floodplain as a result of that? That was an aspect of your question that I just wanted to emphasize. Because I think it'll have broad interest, that kind of a question.
Now, I do have a question for you. Will the county have, proactive planning to, remove the cross from the channel? Because I noticed that it's kind of haphazard. It'll happen a couple of years in a row, and they'll clear it out, but then it won't happen for quite a while, and in the meantime, we're having to build up a bit.
I understand.
You know,
We've got a lot of locations to deal with.
I
Yeah.
understand.
Matt, do you have-
But is there someone or a plan?
I'm asking one of my experts here.
So, we monitor, the sediment level in the creek and, we try to balance it with our regulatory permits and the other work we need to do within the whole county. 23 and 24 were huge years and quite frankly, the sediment was coming to the top. So we needed to act. Knock on wood, we have a little bit drier season this year, but we're constantly monitoring it. When we have storm events, we have crews driving around everywhere monitoring. We try to balance, providing service to the whole county. But yeah, we are also, I think they mentioned earlier, they prepared an O&M plan to for doing maintenance for the whole entire reach. Once we have that, we need to go to the regulatory agencies and we need to get state permits for it, right? Some of the federal hurdles come, but we still need to get state permits. So once we get those state permits, it'll be a lot easier for us to go in and do what we need to do on a regular basis.
And for the record, that was Matt Arrett, Deputy Director of Design and Construction at Ventura County Public Works Agency Watershed Protection District.
One other thing I'll throw into with regard to the question.
And this is Bob Woodward.
Bob Woodward,
City engineer.
City of Santa Paula. We just finished a letter of map revision that does provide considerable relief to flooding. Your portion of Garcia Street between Main and Ventura has largely been removed from the floodplain. So it may be that you're already removed from the floodplain.
On one of the maps, it seemed that way
Okay.
from those properties. The other comment that I would have for the city is that during the rain, it seems like a simple task to have one guy with a rake go by on 12th Street and Main Street and rake all the debris. There's quite a bit. And it just bypasses, floods the whole intersection. And that's the major flooding that we have down there, is that, you know, the drains are cleared. If all the trash got raked away every few days, it would help a lot.
Absolutely. Appreciate the comment.
Hi, Alyssa Gomez, with the Nature Conservancy. I have a question about the operations and maintenance manual. Will that allow for public comment as well?
The operations and maintenance manual, I believe, is not up for public comment. No, I don't think so. That's been negotiated between the Corps of Engineers and National Marine Fisheries Service and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service as well.
That said, this is Daria again. If you have comments about O&M, you can submit them for this study because we're looking at everything, including future O&M or potential changes to O&M. So that would be the avenue to make any changes. Let's do this study.
Any other comments on Zoom? Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I can just,
Yes.
I just want to echo, oh, go ahead. Do you have a comment? Okay. I just want to echo Dr. Woodward's excellent opening remarks. You know, flood risk management is everybody's job, right? We have our role in the federal government, the state, the county, the city, and residents. And so you being here today is taking your job in this process very seriously, and we really appreciate your time. It will make our study better to hear about what you care about. You know, if you see something in here that you really like, that is important to you, please put that in your comment. If you just like the way we're approaching it, say that too. We really consider you a vital part of this process. And like you said, this is just the beginning. There will be more opportunity. So, yeah.
Emily says there's one more on Zoom.
Yes, we have one more question from Randall M. He states, will the study evaluate effects that would occur downstream of the city limits in the Santa Clara River due to the various alternatives?
Yeah, we will evaluate any effects or benefits of the project, and our study area will be defined as such to make sure that we're looking at all the potential impacts.
Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your busy lives to join us here today. And after you've had some time to sleep on it and think about what you would like to see in Santa Paula Creek through town, please write it down and let us know through the email address that we provided earlier. And then, you know, you could send us something in writing by mail, by email. We welcome all comments. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks.
Hi, how are you?